Welcome back to the Successful Diligence podcast. I wanted to make sure that you were aware of how valuable you are to us and me here at Successful Diligence as a listener of the podcast. It means so much that you allow me to provide value through the podcast and that you listen and you show up and you invest your time. It means the world to me and I so appreciate it. One way that you can show your appreciation for the podcast, if you've gotten any value from anything we've ever said is you can support us financially so that we can continue to provide the value that you've come to know from the Successful Diligence podcast. And it can be literally less than a cup of coffee a day, 99 cents per month. That's less than $1 per month, all the way up to $5, $10, however much you want to give. But as little as $1, less than $1, 99 cents, that would make such a difference to us. You can go to the show notes and you can click the link where listener support is highlighted. There's different links in the show notes, or you can go to anchor.fm/successful diligence /support, and you can sign up there, and literally it's one time per month, 99 cents, less than a cup of coffee, and yet you would be having an impact on supporting this podcast to bring more value, reach more people, to have a greater impact in the world. And we appreciate in advance any support that you're able to provide. Again, anchor.fm/successful diligence /support, or you can click the link in the show notes and show your support financially. We appreciate it and we thank you in advance. Today I want to talk really briefly, because I am exhausted, really briefly about pushing past your self-inflicted limitations. Sometimes we put limitations and boundaries on ourselves because we are not consciously aware of how far we really can push ourselves in terms of skills, perseverance, consistency. When you make goals for yourself, there's typically a farther reaching goal that you really can obtain. You just haven't realized or recognized it yet in your conscious mind. And so I'm realizing, because I think I've been talking about, my wonderfully full week and how I'm getting to practice all of these concepts that I'm talking about on the podcast. But what is really fascinating is that as I am pushing myself to be consistent and to exercise my discipline muscle, because those are my two global goals for the year, is discipline and consistency, which is part of why I'm doing a daily podcast episode. But as I am pushing and challenging myself to be consistent and to exercise that discipline muscle, what I'm realizing is that I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was. I can do a lot more in a shorter amount of time than I thought I could. I could be more efficient. I am a lot more motivated and strong mentally than I thought I was. I have more courage than I thought I did. I have more skill sets than I was aware of, because I hadn't tapped into those particular skill sets because I never had a reason to. I never had a need to. And it's interesting when we are in situations that feel uncomfortable, that don't always feel good, and they're not comfy, cozy, they're challenging us in a lot of different ways, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever it is. That is when you tap into those deep recesses of who you are and you become aware of what's really inside of you. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. And then if it's not something that is serving you well and not something that you want to keep as part of your future, that gives you an opportunity to release it and move on and replace it with something that is serving you, that is good for your future, and that is more consistent with who you want to be and the person you want to develop into in the future. So it's really important that we push ourselves and embrace challenges and embrace those so-called tough times, because those so-called tough times are actually really great growth opportunities, and you're only improving and walking towards mastery when you're growing and being challenged and stretched. And it's really, really important as you reach for those goals and as you become that person you want to become, that you give yourself the room to grow, that you give yourself that open-mindedness to not limit yourself to what even you know about yourself. Sometimes, we have a self-image or a concept about ourselves that may be limiting. We may be more than what we think we are. We may be more than what we see. So you've got to allow yourself to step into your greatness and allow yourself to develop the full potential of who you can be and who you really, want to be in the future. So I encourage you to keep pushing through those so-called tough times, embrace those growth opportunities of life, embrace the strength and the skill sets that you have and those characteristics that you may not have been aware of, that you tap into as you're being stretched and pulled in different directions and challenged, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever it is. Embrace those times, because it's serving you and it's making you better and it's pushing you towards that goal and towards that success that you're reaching to. So I hope that encouraged you. I hope you found some value in that. As always, keep walking. And as you keep walking and pushing through those challenges and growing into who you want to be and achieving those levels of success, always, always choose gratitude. If you haven't heard about Ankur, it is the easiest way for you to make a podcast. It's free. The creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. So easy to use. And Ankur will distribute your podcast for you so that it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more platforms. You don't have to upload. They do it all for you. You can also make money from your podcast, cha-ching, with no minimum listenership. I started making money with my first episode. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Just go to your app store and download the free Ankur app, or you can go to anchor.fm to get started now. Anchor FM and get your podcast started.